So in this video I'm going to discuss something personal of how I went from being a Christian to a Luciferian. So obviously there's a little bit of middle ground. At no point was I exactly an atheist. I'll explain that about halfway through. So I'm going to give you a piece of my background. As a child, I was raised in a Southern Baptist church setting. Both my parents were Christians. Now, as a child, I loved science a lot as a kid, and the church said I asked too many questions. I would often bring up, like I said in my previous video, where in like second grade I brought up about fossils being discovered on the top of mountains. How is that possible? They'd say it was the flood. And I'm like, oh, gee, wow, because they said it was evidence. And then, like, by 4th or 5th grade, I'm bringing up plate tectonics and Bill Nye the Science Guy. And there were many times in Sunday school I had my hand up. I treated it like, they called it school, so I behaved like I would in school. I'd have my hand up, one arm holding the other one up by the elbow, just kind of holding your arm in the air. And, I'd get ignored afterwards because my questions were making other students ask questions, and they didn't like that at all. Then I'd wait till the class ended, quote-unquote class, and they're like, no, go in there with your parents. They did not want to deal with me, even as a child. So, but from child to young adult, I never read the Bible cover to cover. Like most Christians, I just went to hear a cherry-picked Bible verse sermon. I never understood that, even as a kid, believing in it. Why do they just always flip through all the time? Why don't they ever just read the book outright? Just go chapter by chapter. That way everybody can, they don't want you to read, and some of that stuff, I didn't know this until now. There's some stuff in the Bible that it's not child approved. I mean, even other Christians, I'm still in this line from Matt Dillahunty, but he's asked Christian callers, can I read any book out of the Bible to your children of my choosing? Some of them start to say yes, and they think about it. And they're like, well, any? There's some stuff in that book that pastors don't want to preach for good reason. But, so as a child, I guess I'll go back to my main point here. As a child, Mom used to tell me God loves all of us and has a purpose for each one of us. Okay, so like that would be comforting to me as a child. Okay, He knows how many hairs are on your head, blah, blah, blah. Well, when you're an adult, and let's say you're, living on your own, and you're going through some real struggle. Your family, or at least in my personal case, the blood family that I thought I could trust, I came down to where I lived in a different state than some of the family I visit. Now I'm living in the state of the family that I visited and found out they're not quite who they were, led on to be. So, they're poisonous people, and I ended up isolating myself away from them just to get away from problematic people. But yeah, anyhow, when you're suffering from depression, or I've been suffering from depression at least from high school to like 5 years ago, when it got to an extreme. I was alone. I didn't trust my family because they'd already run me over and lied to me and such. And I'd ask Mom for help or guidance, and she'd, tell me, oh, read the Bible and so on and so forth. And she even sent me a Bible, for men kind of deal or something. I've burned it. I burned all my childhood Bible, and I burned that Bible, so I don't have it to show for. But I did that recently. Not out of anger then, but as an offering. But anyhow, off topic, is that my depression came to an extreme where for several years I questioned, why am I here? And faced suicidal thoughts for like up to the 5th year ago. So the thing is that, I did a lot of night walks. I even called them Moses walks and stuff, where I prayed and asked God for forgiveness, or not forgiveness, but I asked Him for guidance. You do that too when you believe. Forgive me for whatever I did. Please just tell me what to do. Just give me a sign, something. I got no answers. This was a large nail in the Bible's coffin, or my belief in the Bible, or that Jehovah, Yahweh, whatever. Is that when I was completely alone, I had no other people around me to give me their own personal view of their Bible. It was just me, the book, and the supposed God that the book is supposed to be from. And I did plenty of praying. I prayed by myself for years. And, I never got any answer at all. It made me question all the time, when I was told that we have a purpose. I'm like, so what is my purpose? Tell me what my purpose is. And I'll do it, whatever. Like, if there's ever a time for this Yahweh, God Spirit to talk to me, it would have been then. I had nothing. And I got no answer whatsoever. Near the end of that the last 5 years of that, or just 5 years ago, so near the end of that 5 year, the last year I believed, or not believe, let's see. Oh yeah, the last year that I believed, I'm reading my notes, I wrote this on the side. I was suicidal and I prayed. But I would only come up with clean ways to die. So this is me kind of like thinking, and I'm not going to give any examples because I certainly don't want to encourage this. But, in the least, if I was going to take myself out, I don't want to leave a mess. I don't want to, there be a big cleanup behind me or something when they find my body. Like, I was at least kind enough to whoever the poor fuck could have to clean my shit up. At least do that guy a favor. Whoever the hell that would have to be. Don't want to be gross about it, but yeah. Even at that point, as depressed as I was, I still didn't want to be messy. And let's see here. I'm going to look at my notes because I'm trying to format this appropriately. Yeah, so when most people are in that state of mind, especially for years, being suicidal for like 2 years, and just thinking, why am I here and stuff, at some point or another, if they don't find, someone to help them out, if they're as isolated as I was, they usually, unfortunately, do find a way to commit suicide one way or the other, or they want other people to take them out. They can't kill themselves, or whether, like they have the police take them out, basically, by force, which is basically the line I was going toward. I was like, well, I don't want to kill myself, but why else should I be here? I can't get any answers. I was aiming toward the more hostile direction near the end there, because I got anger issues, and that was extremely bad then. So I was thinking of ways to get the police to take me out. That way I would both die and, didn't have to do it myself. It's kind of I don't want to say any cuss words, but yeah, it wasn't good either way. But at some point near the end there, I finally snapped. It's like God is either an asshole or He doesn't exist. Just talk about the God of the Bible. It was at that moment when I had that thought. Fuck Yahweh. He's either, like I said, he's either an asshole or He doesn't exist. Now I've been lied to. So it was at that point I kind of had this feeling. I figured out later that it was through Lucifer, based on his teachings and stuff that I can cover at another time. But I could hear him kind of reaching out to me. He was telling me that, what are you doing? We decide our own purpose. It's your life. You live it for yourself, not for others' expectations. So, yeah, that happened at the same time that I snapped. It's like, you know what? Why should I die? Even if this Yahweh character isn't real and all that stuff, then that just actually gives power back to me. So, on a side note, I also had remembered a paranormal experience that I had when I was a child at that time, which is why I'm have this camera at the Ouija board right now, is because I don't know if I'll go into my experience here. Maybe I'll make a side video with it, because I don't want this video to be too long. But I had a paranormal experience, and even though I love science and psychology, there's still things that aren't explained. That quantum mechanics or whatever, like there's things that aren't explained that I've seen. And I can't reproduce them, so I'm not going to claim it as scientific fact. But I've witnessed some shit that I was not alone with that, yeah, has definitely led me to try something else. So I made this Ouija board at that time. This is like 2017 maybe. And I decided to try to contact, just any spirit. And I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was doing, we've all seen on videos, we're going like zo, or just, reaching out for anything. And I would leave the board up. I mean, hell, the way that I made this is so that, now I later put Lucifer sigil on the back. I didn't have that early. But I even put a magnet right here, so that you're supposed to say goodbye when you're done using a Ouija board. I intentionally put it to where the door is always open. So, yeah, like, I wanted paranormal activity. When I made this, I had every intention of getting in contact with something. So, I had things set up. I've had, like, maybe a glass on the edge of the table, or, just anything. Push something over, show me something. Well, while I wasn't met with any paranormal activity in like what you see in movies or Hollywood, I was shortly inspired to look up demonology. At least, basically, I was being given breadcrumbs to get me started. Now, this led me to sites like, now I don't follow Serpent's Key anymore. However, I do have some of her basic, Raven, some of her basic information really helped me get understanding of just what the path was and misunderstandings. I think I have that saved on my profile, or if not on Gengar666 profile. So you can look that up. But anyhow, in Black Witch Coven, which I'm still subscribed, and by all means, if you watch this and you're interested in the left-hand path, look up Black Witch Coven. Lots of great information. And so that's where I got the information of how to make a pact with Lucifer. And I made a pact with Lucifer in 2015. So that was, or I think that was actually 2016 that I officially made a pact. But, so I had some last thoughts on here. So why from Christianity to Lucifer? Why? So, okay. While I lost faith in Christianity, but there was no atheistic middle ground, as I pointed out very early on, I already had witnessed paranormal. So, again, I'm not going into that story now. Maybe if anybody's curious, I will share that story. And, when I did get out of that depression, after that I snapped, I was led directly toward making this, and it led me to, okay, I'm not getting any results by any of, like, the Hollywood means, but I was breadcrumbed through those sites. So, yeah, Lucifer had breadcrumbed me the right direction to where I am now, and that's why I'm a Luciferian. I would say where someone says, are you a Christian, are you blah blah blah, I'm like, no, I'm a Luciferian chaos witch. So, I have some last thoughts here I wanted to add. This video is getting long again. It's going to take 8 hours to upload. When you're a child and you're learning, is the best time that parents try to push their influence on you. When they say, don't touch the stove when I'm cooking, it's hot. Well, you can see the thing burning, and you can hear the food sizzling. You know it's hot. You trust them. Okay, that makes sense. When you tell them, or when they tell you, don't talk to strangers, when you're by yourself. Like if you're waiting for the bus or something, and somebody opens the door, a white van, and suspect characters offering you candy. Don't talk to them. Don't accept food from strangers. They're giving you good advice. They're trying to protect you. So when they take you to church and they tell you believe in this book, like they believe in this book and so on, in this belief system, and you should too. Well, as a child, what choice do you have? You're being taught a belief along the same side of being taught facts, which means that inevitably, without the critical thinking skills, you don't have critical thinking skills developed. So you're not going to be able to know, okay, the burner is hot, this is a fact. Whether it's you, your mom, if your dog jumped up there to get some, bacon off the frying pan, the dog knows that frying pan's hot, and the dog doesn't know anything about, as far as logic or morality or whatever. So, it's, everybody knows that's hot. Well, that's a fact. The belief system is a belief system. It's something that you grow into believing. But you're taught that as fact, and that's called indoctrination. I'm trying not to use the word brainwash. I think it's a sloppy word. But that is indoctrination. So, when you indoctrinate a child, well, that belief falls apart when you're alone. That child turns into an adult, and you're going through a struggle. And the only thing you have is that book and that God, which is exactly what I just went through. And you pray and you get zero answers. Well, at that point, you realize that you were wrong about this belief system. There's no truth in this. And that's without the skeptic, like I brought about the flood and stuff like that in my previous video, and contradictions. You're not even thinking about that. You're just wondering, where the fuck is he? Where's my, give me any answer. Just tell me something. What do you want me to do? And you get no answers. You're not supposed to do anything to, you just live your life and try to live it productively. That's all you're supposed to do as an organism, is try to, live life to the best that you can and try to help others. There's no purpose, but they'll tell you that. At that point, you realize that they were wrong in this belief. What else did I learn wrong? Now they got you questioning not just them and yourself, but everybody. They got that wrong. What else did they get wrong? So this is at 17 minutes. This is probably going to go over 20, and I apologize, but there's something I wanted to add, and I don't want to steal credit, so I'm going to show this. I don't know if the camera's right. This is not mine. This is from the Friendly Atheist. You should definitely subscribe, but he says this better than I do, and rather than stealing his lines, I'm just going to give him full credit and let him explain. 3 points, and then I'll cut it short.
Shame. So much of religion, especially Christianity, Catholicism, involves telling people that without God, they're worthless. They are sinners, they're unsaved, they're lost, they have a God-shaped hole in their heart. Basically, there is something wrong with them. That's never been true. But what a horrible thing to tell your children, for them to believe they're wretches in need of supernatural intervention. It's even worse to tell them Jesus was murdered because of something they did without even realizing it. He died for your sins. Don't do that to them. Trust me, they will get older and they are going to feel shame about everything. You don't need to pile on from birth. Let kids be curious. A kid should never grow up thinking God did it is an acceptable answer for anything. I'm sure all of us were annoyed when our parents responded to our questions with, "Because I said so." It wasn't an answer. It was a way to end the conversation. That's the same thing as God did it, or God will take care of it. It's a cop-out. Your kids are born curious. As they grow up, unfortunately, a lot of them lose that spirit, partly because we discourage them from asking so many questions. Let's give them more opportunities to discover things for themselves.
Unless you're really stubborn.
As annoying as it might be, your kids asking why is really a wonderful thing because it means they want to know stuff. Why is the sky blue? Why do I look like mommy and daddy? Why do I have a belly button? Those are good questions. And if you don't know the best way to respond, go search for the answers with them. Teach them how to learn on their own. Teach them how to think, not what to think.
I agree.
Religion always seems to have an answer for everything, and so many of those answers are just made up. Don't let religion destroy your child's curiosity. Your kids will trust you more.
I'm only going to do
Kids
3
will believe
points.
anything you tell them, at least at first. If you want to develop a stronger bond with your child, lying doesn't help. Because when they realize you're lying, they'll make a mental note not to take you seriously in the future. Telling them the Bible is true, then, is going to be a problem the moment they find a contradiction, or realize there's no way the world was created in 6 days, or understand people don't rise up from the dead outside of zombie movies. Just because you mean well doesn't mean your kids will come around to your way of thinking. And if your kids learn they can't trust you on the small things, they're never going to come to you for the big things. I know some atheists who honestly feel conflicted about introducing their kids to the idea of Santa Claus for that very reason. I mean, I do it. It's fun for me. But I get where they're coming from. Even a lie for the sake of tradition is a lie. But at least with Santa, the expectation is that the kids will eventually grow out of it. Religion doesn't come with the same guarantee. It builds self-confidence. If your kids face a problem, what do you want them to do? Pray to God for help? Or figure out a way to take care of things themselves?
It's what Lucifer
If they're
teaches
struggling
too.
in school, for example, prayer's not going to change that. They need to study more, or talk to friends or a guidance counselor, or find a tutor, or ask the teacher for more help. Whatever the issue, you want kids to be strong and self-reliant. Asking for help is great when they're talking to real people. The problem is that when we teach them to rely on God for anything we need, everything becomes a group project where God just sits on the sidelines but still gets credit for it. They'll learn to challenge authority.
Alright, I'm going to cut this one short. I'm going to put a link to both this video, and I'm also going to put a link to Lloyd Evens, where he covers him, or he does an interview with someone. I can't put all this information into one video, it'd just be too long. But yeah, I wanted to cover a couple of those points. I'm not trying to advertise cigarettes, I do smoke, but anyhow, I want to cut this short. Those 3 points I thought had to do really good with my with what I was showing. So anyhow, I'll cut this short, but yeah, I'm going to put a link to those 2 channels. And if you're interested in any other ex-Christian stuff, yeah, you might wonder why is someone who's a Luciferian and I don't care, call me a Satanist. You know, hell Satan. Why am I watching atheist channels? Because there's a lot of Christian dogma that's just messed up. And, when you ask questions, they give you those apologetic answers that go nowhere. It's like he said, to end a conversation, if anything. You will find out what those answers are. So, if you're curious, I have a side list of videos that called Cult Behavior. I often update those as I find new things that are related to this. Feel free to check out that list.